AdAlta Limited is an Australian-listed drug discovery and development company based in Melbourne, Australia. Hello, my name is Tim Oldham and I'm the Managing Director and CEO, and it's my pleasure to provide an update and overview of our company today. AdAlta is built on our iBody technology platform. This is a unique drug discovery platform capable of producing therapeutics and diagnostics that address targets that have been underserved by traditional antibodies. We've used this iBody platform to develop 4 programs today. The first 2 are wholly owned programs in fibrosis and inflammation. Our lead asset, AD214, is a first-in-class antifibrotic being prepared for phase 2 clinical trials addressing the $3 billion idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis market and with multiple indication extension potential. We also have a second asset in discovery stage in the same therapeutic area. In addition, we have 2 co-development collaboration programs in the field of immuno-oncology. The first is a collaboration with GE Healthcare, addressing the $6.4 billion PET imaging market. And here we're aiming to develop PET imaging agents against the enzyme granzyme B for imaging immuno-oncology drug efficacy. This is at preclinical development stage. Our final program is a new program with Biotech, an Australian-based biotechnology company, to develop iBody-enabled CAR T cell therapies. And this is addressing a market that's projected to reach $20 billion by 2028. In addition to this, we continue to work to develop additional programs using our powerful iBody drug discovery platform with the goal of having 10 programs in development by 2023. Another way of looking at our company is the impact we are hoping to have on the world. And there are 4 areas that I'll highlight today. The first is the need for new drug discovery platforms. While antibodies transformed the pharmaceutical industry when they first emerged as therapeutics 30 years ago, there are still large areas where they've been unsuccessful, and there is a need for new novel discovery platforms that can deliver all the benefits of antibodies, but with additional target engagement capability. And our iBody platform is, we believe, one of those suitable new discovery platforms. The second area of focus for us is idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. This is a degenerative, fatal respiratory disease with no good treatments today, and AdAlta's lead asset, AD214, could meet the desperate need for new approaches to this debilitating disease. The third impact we're working on right now is in the field of immuno-oncology, drugs that have revolutionized cancer treatment by reactivating a patient's immune system, and that work but only for some patients. And our collaboration with GE Healthcare is designed to develop a PET imaging agent that can identify those responders much earlier during therapy so that patients get onto the right therapy as quickly as possible and are not treated with drugs that are not going to work. And finally, we're hoping to impact the CAR T cell therapy field. These therapies have provided new hope for blood cancer patients who failed multiple lines of chemotherapy. And the challenge our industry is addressing now is how do we provide the same hope to patients with solid tumors? And we believe the combination of our iBody technology with Karina's world-class CAR T platform provides a unique opportunity to create that hope for solid tumor patients. During the rest of this presentation, I'll step through each of these 4 areas of impact to highlight the power and potential of our company. In doing so, I hope I will address 3 potential stakeholders who may be watching this presentation today. The first are investors who could be interested in joining us for the journey ahead and the value creation opportunities we see in front of us. The second would be pharmaceutical companies looking to license advanced assets against difficult drug targets, such as our lead program, AD214. And the third will be pharma companies seeking new ways to target their own therapeutic interests to join our collaborations with GE Healthcare and Biotech. So let me turn to iBodies themselves. What are they? iBodies are modeled and designed to mimic the size, shape, and characteristics of single domain antibodies found in the shark immune system. AdAlta's unique innovation was to find human proteins that overlaid exactly onto the scaffold of these shark single domain antibodies. And with this human scaffold in which we've inserted the CDR1 and 3 binding domains in the same place you would find them in the shark immune system, we have created the iBody platform. And as illustrated in the cartoon above, iBodies are about 10% the size of a traditional monoclonal antibody, and the long CDR3 binding domain, which is twice the length of an average monoclonal antibody, has unique capabilities to access difficult sterically hindered targets such as G protein coupled receptors, ion channels, and other membrane-bound drug targets. And uniquely, we can engage those receptors in very pharmacologically specific ways, inducing allosteric and biased antagonism or agonism, so that we can influence very specifically the pharmaceutical pathways that those receptors and targets are involved in. The small size of the iBodies makes them applicable for many diverse and modular formats, so that we can build therapeutic and diagnostic applications with multiple different pharmaceutical properties. We can use the naked iBodies, small rapid clearances. We can half-life extend with pegylation technology, or in the case of AD214 as an FC fusion protein. We can create bispecifics. We can attach a payload for drug targeting, such as an antibody drug conjugate, or a PET imaging agent in the case of our collaboration with GE Healthcare. And we have now demonstrated we can incorporate them as the binding domain in a chimeric antigen receptor format for CAR T cell therapy. So all up, we believe this means we have an immensely powerful drug discovery platform. We've already demonstrated that we can address a wide range of targets with our iBody technology, and we have a particular interest in G protein coupled receptors. These represent 30 to 40% of all approved drugs today. And yet there are only 2 monoclonal antibodies approved addressing or targeting a G protein coupled receptor. So there is enormous opportunity in this field alone for better ways of delivering antibody-like specificity to one of the most important drug classes the world is addressing today. The wide range of product formats has already been demonstrated by our lead product candidates. AD214 is a direct therapeutic function of the iBody. Our Granzyme B program with GE Healthcare uses the iBodies to target the PET imaging agent. And our CAR T program combines iBodies as a targeting agent for a T cell, as well as their capabilities for bispecific and multispecific functionality. We move now to AD214. This is our lead asset. It's a first-in-class treatment for fibrosis. We are the only drug targeting the CXCR4 pathway for fibrosis, despite the well-validated involvement of this receptor in the fibrotic cascade. You can see in the top panel an example of healthy human lung tissue on the left and fibrotic lung tissue on the right, showing the destruction of normal tissue architecture by the fibrotic lesions or scarring of that organ. The brown staining here shows the upregulation of CXCR4 in the diseased tissue. The bottom panel here shows the results of our preclinical studies in a mouse model of lung fibrosis. Normal lung tissue on the left, diseased or induced fibrotic tissue in the middle panel, where we've induced fibrosis with bleomycin. The purple staining here is collagen as a marker for scarring and fibrosis. And in the right panel, you can see the significant retention of normal tissue architecture in a mouse treated with AD214. On the back of data such as this and a fully comprehensive preclinical package, combined with a pre-IND meeting with the FDA and now orphan drug designation, that encourages us to move into clinical trials. While our lead indication is lung fibrosis, we do know that fibrotic diseases affect almost every other organ in the body, and we have preclinical data already supporting use of AD214 in eye fibrosis, in kidney fibrosis, and emerging data in cancer. So not only is there an immediate application in idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which I'll talk about in a moment, there is also extensive application in other indications, all of which have markets exceeding $1 billion. So turning now to idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, this is our first target. IPF involves scarring and stiffening of the lungs, progressively and irreversibly reducing lung function. It is a degenerative, progressive disease. There is no cure today, and the median survival is less than 4 years from diagnosis. There are 2 marketed drugs today representing a market of $3 billion per year, but these 2 drugs have terrible side effects and limited efficacy, slowing the rate of progression and not significantly extending life. So there's a crying need for new therapies for the more than 300,000 patients living with IPF around the world today. Importantly, also, the burden of fibrotic lung disease is likely to increase following the COVID-19 pandemic, because we know that severe COVID results in scarring and fibrotic lesions in the lungs and many other organs for that matter. We don't know is whether it's progressive in the same way that IPF is, but from the various earliest days of the pandemic, physicians have been talking about the need for or the application of antifibrotics in the treatment of long-term COVID side effects. So where are we up to today? So we've completed a phase 1 clinical trial of AD214 using intravenous administration, showing that the drug was well tolerated in single and multiple doses, that the target, CXCR4, was actively engaged, and that we were able to engage the target with an extended period of duration. And by that, I mean that we're able to block and bind and demonstrate that CXCR4 was blocked well after the drug had cleared from the plasma. And this would have supported, or did support, us progressing into phase 2 clinical studies. We've now secured a resupply of clinical material. The manufacturing slots are booked, and that will enable us to progress to phase 2 clinical studies in mid to late 2023. In the meantime, we're now developing a more patient-convenient inhaled formulation for use in those phase 2 clinical trials. We're doing this for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because we've always believed that inhalation was going to be a more convenient route of administration than regular intravenous administration, certainly more convenient for patients and clinicians, and gives us much more dosing flexibility. But secondly, we know from preclinical PET imaging and studies of biodistribution that we have reduced bioavailability during using the intravenous formulation due to rapid liver distribution. This doesn't appear to affect safety or efficacy, as demonstrated by the results I described earlier, but it does mean that we would have to use a lot more drug to achieve a therapeutic outcome. So the inhaled formulation not only delivers much more patient convenience, but it also delivers a significantly lower cost of goods. We are continuing to work on the intravenous formulation for other indications and for alternate use in idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. And we've just released the first results of our inhalation development. These were the important studies to demonstrate that we could suitably nebulize AD214 without affecting its functionality and deliver it to the distal regions of the lungs where IPF is most found. And you can see in this slide that we've tested 2 different nebulization devices. Both delivered aerosol particles less than 5 microns, which is the key number to get aerosols to the deep alveolar regions of the lungs. And in both cases delivered significant quantities of drug to those regions. And the best device actually delivered almost 50% of the delivered dose was deposited in the alveolar regions as simulated by the ICRP model. Our next steps with this program are to complete preclinical efficacy studies before we move into toxicology in the second half of next year. For investors, IPF assets are valuable. There have been a significant number of deals in recent times as both the companies leading the market today, as well as other companies following on behind, are developing fibrosis portfolios generally and IPF portfolios specifically. Phase 1 assets generating up to 45 million euro upfronts, phase 2 assets generating up to 5 or 6 times that. We are open to and having numerous positive partnering conversations with both Asian regional partners as well as global pharmaceutical companies. We are open to partnering conversations as we progress the inhaled formulation. We're also keeping our options open to progress phase 2 ourselves. Turning to our next program, where we have progressed significantly to having impact on human health, and this is our immuno-oncology PET imaging program with GE Healthcare. Immuno-oncology drugs reactivate patients' own immune systems to fight cancer. This is going to be a $100 billion market before very long. The challenge we have today is that only 20 to 40% of patients actually respond to immuno-oncology drugs. So GE came to us and said, wouldn't it be great if we could work out who those responders were before their tumor actually progressed? And furthermore, because we know an activated immune system produces granzyme B, if we could image the production of granzyme B in the vicinity of the tumor in response to checkpoint inhibitor therapy, we would know really early on that the patient was responding. There's a significant amount of interest in imaging granzyme B for this purpose. We have developed a panel of antibodies that bind to granzyme B. GE is coupling their PET imaging agents to those right now, and we're progressing into preclinical proof of concept experiments in mice during the first half of 2022. The important and exciting thing about these PET imaging agents is they've got a relatively short development timeline. And while we haven't disclosed, and GE have not disclosed their timelines, by looking at comparative programs, it's relatively easy to see that not only are the development timelines much shorter than a therapeutic, but also that revenue can start to be generated through clinical companion diagnostic usage, clinical trial usage, even before marketing authorization. So this product could be generating royalty revenue for AdAlta much, much earlier than a therapeutic. We know that the market for PET imaging agents is greater than $6 billion today. We know that the largest products are in excess of $400 million. So you can see that we could be starting to generate quite an interesting royalty stream for AdAlta, potentially as early as 2025, perhaps even earlier. We're very excited about this collaboration for its potential impact on a really exciting field of cancer therapy today. This program is actually generating revenue for AdAlta. We earn research fees, development and sales milestones, and royalty payments on ultimate product sales. And GE have so far covered all of our development costs and discovery costs on the program to date. As I mentioned, we're moving into preclinical proof of concept studies and manufacturing development, and we anticipate that preclinical proof of concept hopefully in the first half of 2022. The final program I'd like to discuss with you today is our CAR-T program in collaboration with Karina Biotech. CAR-T cell therapies are also revolutionizing cancer treatment, now not by reactivating your immune system, but by reprogramming it so that it can find cancer. We take a patient's own T cells, isolate them from their blood, genetically modify them in the laboratory to insert a chimeric antigen receptor. This receptor is designed to target tumor-specific antigens, drive the T cells to those antigens, and then trigger activation of the T cell once bound. Once modified, these T cells are expanded in the laboratory and given back to the patient to become a living drug that not only deals with cancer immediately, the chimeric antigen receptor functions as a GPS tracker, if you like, to enable the T cell to find cancer. But that has the potential to then enter the immune memory system so that the immune system is now primed to survey for return of the cancer wherever it may come from. The first CAR-T therapy products were only approved in 2017 and to date have earned more than $1 billion in annual sales. The market's projected to reach $20 billion by 2028, and by the end of the decade, more than 50% of revenues in this field are expected to come from solid tumors. But the treatment of solid tumors remains challenging for CAR-T cell therapies. It remains challenging because of greater difficulty in accessing the tumor, greater suppression of the immune system by the tumor, and the scarcity of tumor-specific antigens, which creates associated risks of either tumor escape in heterogeneous tumors and also off-target effects. Our collaboration with Karina Biotech is designed to address these three major challenges to create precision-engineered iBody-enabled CAR-T cell therapies with a specific focus on bispecific and dual CAR-T products. Karina's CAR-T platform comprises specific elements that drive very efficient manufacturing, produce a younger, more virile phenotype of T cell at the end of manufacturing, and have specific features through their chemokine receptor platform that enable enhanced tumor migration and penetration of the tumors. What Karina lacked and what AdAlta provides is the targeting capability. and our unique iBody platform can provide reach and access to new tumor antigens. And the small size of the iBodies, it's about half the size of the traditional chimeric antigen receptor, makes more room in the gene cassette to create bispecific and dual CAR Ts. And so we believe this combination has unique power to be able to create CAR T cells that are successful against solid tumors. And the initial proof of principle data that we've generated is shown on this slide here. We haven't disclosed the target that was used in this case, but it was an iBody enabled CAR T cell. Karina developed 3 different CAR T constructs and demonstrated very, very successful cell killing in 2 cancer cell lines, colorectal cancer cell lines, less effective cell killing in the more difficult glioblastoma cell line. But this was the data that gave us encouragement to say these iBody-enabled CAR T cells are feasible and can be effective in killing target cells. Importantly, Karina were able to achieve the same high levels of manufacturing efficiency with greater than 97% transduction efficiency in the creation of the CAR T cells, a 9-day production process, and a mixture of T cells that, a mixture of helper and killer T cells that also demonstrated a very effective young CAR T phenotype. So in summary, our company today, built from our iBody platform, is developing a portfolio of wholly owned assets in fibrosis and inflammation, led by AD214, which has completed phase 1, has orphan drug designation, is being prepared for phase 2 studies, and in a co-developed asset portfolio in the immuno-oncology space, working with GE and Karina. We expect to add another target early in 2022 on our way to target 10 by 2023. Our vision for the company is to develop a multi-product, multi-partner platform capability, similar to companies that have gone before us in the GPCR therapeutics and in the single domain antibody space, as illustrated by some of the companies shown on this slide here. Our goals for calendar year 2022 are focused around the inhaled formulation development for AD214, filling in the gap to the next available clinical material in 2023. In GE Healthcare's case, we're looking towards preclinical proof of concept. We're looking for the first experimental results from our Karina collaboration on iBody-enabled CAR T cells. Bearing in mind, we've already identified the first target of 5 potential targets we'll be working on with Karina. We also have some pretty clear goals around expanding the internal pipeline and continuing to improve our iBody platform and extending that core intellectual property that underpins our company. Our leadership team are all industry experienced in all aspects of drug development, capital raising, discovery, and clinical. And I'm very excited to report that we've significantly expanded our laboratory team to be able to drive increased drug discovery in anticipation of both the new targets we're addressing internally and the new collaborations we're bringing on board. Our company has a current market capitalization of between $20 and $25 million, and we have approximately $10 million cash in the bank as a result of the proceeds of a placement we've just completed. Our major shareholders represent 47% of the company, have been very loyal and supportive of our growth strategy, and we look forward to continuing to work with them and new investors over time. So in summarizing, our value proposition to both pharma partners and also investors is a powerful iBody drug discovery platform that can create value in the form of unique and novel products, of which AD214 is a good example. Each product we add to our pipeline adds value to our portfolio, but also adds value to those of the pipelines of our partners. We have 4 programs in development today. Our internal program focused on fibrosis and inflammation, with our lead asset advancing to phase 2 in a $3 billion market for just its first indication. Our second 2 programs are co-developed with GE Healthcare and Karina Biotech in the immuno-oncology space, addressing a $6 billion market and a $20 billion market respectively, and with the GE Healthcare program already in preclinical and with the potential to generate revenue within the next 3 to 4 years. We have a clear vision for growing our pipeline, working with collaborators on their favorite and difficult to address drug targets, working with collaborators to further develop and commercialize 8214, and working with investors to continue to add value by expanding the number of products in our pipeline. We have leading industry experienced expertise to drive these programs, and we have a regular and near-term news flow to be able to demonstrate progress as we build value across all of these assets. I would be delighted to answer any questions that people may have. You can contact us via the email address shown on the screen here. More information is available on our website, and I'm also delighted to be able to answer questions through the various partnering platforms at the conferences which we'll be attending. Thanks for your attention today. I look forward to further engagement with all of you in the near future.